Hello there, I am back. One more, probably very short video for you, but another little building tip. I want to talk to you today about signs. Yes, they are used by everyone, everywhere. They are a wonderful thing in the game, but I've always felt like they could be even more. You can put special characters, you can make them glow, you can do lots of fancy things with them. And I apologize in advance if this is super dark, but there's even more than this you can do. Now, this is one of my favorite things in my world. First of all, I like the reference to "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" It just seems very fitting to me. It also seems very fitting in this room. But I also love that it looks like it was scribed on the wall, the uneven characters, and I think it's super cool. But one of the things I wanted to do was not just to make a sign like this with letters, with bigger letters than than individual characters, but I wanted to make some very neat looking signs. So in particular, I was working on kind of a part of call it like a museum. I wanted exit signs, and this is what I came up with. And I think they are amazing. And this style of using signs can bring extraordinary amount of detail to your base, and it adds a whole other level of Minecraft personalization. And this is very simple, so I guess other people have done the same kind of thing, but I've never seen it. And I'm going to walk you through how to get this to look so clean. Even though you could argue maybe it's not so clean. We'll go into that in a second. But I've got two types of signs like this in my world. This exit sign, which is the first thing I made. And then, of course, you can do, there's your normal ASCII types of signs. Those are cool too. You can make bathroom sign, signs everywhere. But this, it adds so much flair to have a sign like this. And you're definitely noticing, I would imagine, the little speckles. And that's the secret to getting them to line up. So let's pop over into my test world, and I'll show you how I came up with these. Now, I actually came up with these before signs were editable. So this was a lot harder at that time. But this was my first thought. It's like, how do I get like multi-line letters? And that's a pretty solid first attempt. And I think part of me would have just stayed there. But then I decided to iterate, and I learned that these three characters, this is a period. If you can see where my character is here, this is a period and a backtick. But I also use a comma. I don't know if it's on any of these signs. Using these double line ASCII characters, which are things I'll show, and I'll actually put them in the description of the video, so you can just copy and paste them and use them in your signs. But the tilde, the comma, and the period can be used to get these to line up pretty much perfectly. It does have the downside. So that's going to be a pain to repair. Oh, would you look at that? It just magically reappeared. So the downside is that you do get these kind of speckles, which you can look at as a downside. I don't. It gives it this kind of like worn look, and I'm okay with that because you can make such perfect looking signs that it's just worth it. You can see here, where I did the gift shop. It's just such a wonderful addition to your world. And then this is a little Easter egg right here. This is cursive vanishing. This is something else I was playing around with, obviously a pun. I was going to use this to label my books, but I'll show you just really quick how this works. So if we look at one of these signs and I go in and edit, you can see this is a character and this is a character, and I can line these up however I want. I think I'm going to just do a word here for you right now. I'm going to go with the word joy, because this really does bring me a lot of joy, and it does help if in advance you kind of have an idea of what letters, how they would be constructed. So for J, I'm going to imagine two. We're going to use two uprights like that, and then at the bottom we have a line that kicks over, and then we use this other angle for the other side. We're going to throw some spaces in there just to get a look. I think that's going to work just fine. Okay, so next we're going to do an O. We're going to use this angle pieces again. So we use an upper left, and then an upper right. Then we'll use our upright pieces again in the middle. And this particular font, I guess you could call it, is just 3 letters tall, but you can experiment and probably come up with all kinds of different variations of this. I would love to see what people come up with. And yeah, it looks kind of jumbled right now, but we're going to fix that. That's where the real magic happens. First, we need to get our letters kind of how we want them. Let's get it kind of close here. All right, there's a J-O, and then Y. I have never actually tried to make a Y, but I think the way I'm going to attempt it is maybe with something like this. Okay, so obviously the letters don't line up. So the approach that I'm going to take is I'm just going to try to have one space between them and get them to line up. So we'll get the Y under there. So we need an extra space because this upright for the Y, it looks pretty well centered, but this right upright for the O is not. So I'm going to put a dot and a dot on the other side. Look at that. They line up perfectly. But now this guy's lined up wrong. So what can we put in there? That's pretty close, but it's not quite right. Maybe what we're going to have to do is put a dot between the J and the O and a comma or a backtick. That backtick actually seems to line it up perfectly, which is beautiful. Our Y still happens to line up. That's a wonderful thing as well. So let's fix this for the J. And we lucked out that the first two lines right here are pretty much perfect. And because we have a dot on each side like this, I can actually just take this out because all they're doing is recentering the whole thing, and that still lines up. So we don't have as much clutter. If it works out, if you don't like the dot being, say, right there, you might be able to move it over one to a place that looks a little more appealing to you, depending where it is. Maybe you like them, all kind of centered around the O here. We don't know what the bottom's going to look like yet, so we're going to take a couple spaces out here and work on that. So in order for this bottom to be like the top, we have to put a period between the center. There's just no way around it. And because that offset it, we have to put a dot there for now. And then this guy, we need to move over one, maybe one more. Oh, that went too far. So let's try a comma in our backtick. Look at that. We got it just right. So I don't particularly love the bottom of that Y. So I'm actually going to try this other character. That looks better to me, but we have too much space in there now. And look at that. It just, I am kind of experienced with this, so I have some kind of idea of how it might work. But now we have a sign that says joy, which would be great for Christmas. Maybe we want to dye it green or lime. I think lime might show up better. We'll try both. Yeah, they're about the same. And that's how you make the signs. It's really very, very simple. Again, I'll put the characters that you need to use in the description, and you can just pull up any ASCII table and find other characters that might work. And I know there's a whole lot more that can be done with this. Again, this is my next experiment with it, but I did this a long time ago, so it's kind of been on pause. But there's a lot. See, there's other characters here you can play with. That's what I was using for the cursive. I really think there's a lot you can do with it, and I look forward to seeing what everyone comes up with. But otherwise, that's been a building tip. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you probably in 10 years when I make my next video.